It's fitting that this film is primarily about a dead guy trying to pull himself back together, because I've been feeling in similar fashion for the past few days. Thanks, weak strain of COVID. But I digress. Lisa Frankenstein, a Diablo Cody production. Basically, it's modern day Romeo and Juliet. Not quite by way of Trauma, but then again, only Trauma is by way of Trauma. But it comes close. It's basically a modern 80s flick, since 80s nostalgia has come back like gangbusters. And it's actually pretty good. It stars Katherine Newton as an introverted oddball with a bit of past trauma. I can partially relate. And she basically pulls a Pygmalion, falling for this headstone and basically treating it like the person who's buried beneath it. And she makes a wish, and suddenly, boom, her boyfriend's back and there's gonna be trouble. And yes, there was a zombie flick called My Boyfriend's Back, which I actually seen. It was pretty good. Anywho, so hijinks ensue when she's got to try and help this guy who didn't ask to be brought back from the dead, but who feels like he cares for her in his own way. He's not a typical zombie, but he's definitely anything but a total deadhead. In life, he was very cultured, and sadly, pretty much died of a broken heart. But thanks to Newton's character, hopefully, maybe, he's got a second chance. Problem is, she's got to contend with the people around her, and it's not easy. Especially with an overbearing mother-in-law. Or, no, not mother-in-law, stepmother. But everyone else seems relatively supportive. Of course, then she finds out just what this dead guy needs. And she sort of spirals, going to any lengths to help him get what he needs. And you're wondering whether or not this Romeo and Juliet story will end in the same type of tragedy. Overall, the story was good. It took its time, but it was worth watching all the way through. Newton played a very introverted type of person very well. I saw bits of her freaky performance in certain scenes, and honestly, I'd call her a very multi-layered actress. As for her co-star, the guy's backstory helped give the character a bit of pathos before we even got to meet him, and the actor, who wasn't able to talk through most of the flick, was able to portray a character that you wanted to root for, but you knew something bad was going to happen because he's a zombie. Something always bad happens with zombies. Let's try that again. He knew something bad was going to happen because he's a zombie, and that usually leads to bad things happening. Anyway, the rest of the cast did very well. You'll even recognize a single Stranger Things actor in a role that he has made his own. Hopefully you won't be typecast. But he's just so good at what he does. The rest of the cast, the wicked stepmother, the actually quite understanding, vivacious, kind of slightly annoying stepsister, Newton's character's classmates, annoying adults, and one character who really came out of left field and really got what he deserved. They all did a great job. Basically, they filled this world with 80s cheese, and it was delicious. Although, speaking of eating, there's this one scene, if you have a sensitive stomach, do not. Oh, get nauseous just thinking about it. Don't eat while watching this one scene. You'll know it when you see it. Anyway, so yeah, the cast, very lively. Not a single stiff among them. The setting, it was clearly 80s, although they didn't confirm it was 80s until much later in the film. But it also felt timeless, you know? Like forever 80s. But in reality it was 89. I was 4 years old. Anywho, the setting was beautiful. We go from Newton's character's house to the current residence of the dead guy and various other parts of the world, and they all felt real. None of them felt like Hollywood sets. Not even one that should have been a Hollywood set, the cemetery. There were plenty of homages and winks and nods to various characters and movies, but it didn't feel forced. It felt very organic. The music was classic 80s, and it really sold just how cheesy this film was, but in a good way. There were even a couple of animated sections and a musical number, which honestly just fit right in. Overall, Lisa Frankenstein is a lovely patchwork freak that you and your friends can pick apart and cringe at and laugh at and be shocked at, because yes, there are some shocking moments. And even if you're alone, it's still worth checking out. But it might be good for couples on Valentine's Day too, because this film can be very, very romantic when it chooses to be. This is Mr. J signing out and reminding you, for most of us, love may be dead, but its leg seems to forever be twitching. Probably because there's an axe buried in its nervous system. Happy Valentine's Day, folks. Eat them hearts, or should I say eat them heart-shaped candies.